Hi, everyone. We're so happy to have you here at another episode of Hustle and Harmony. Welcome if you're new here. I am Ashley, joined by Alyssa, my awesome
Hi.
co-host, and we're excited to be here for another episode in our summer series that we've kicked off over the last couple of weeks. Since it's summertime, the kids are out, it brings a whole, other slew of things to think about as a busy, active working mother or working woman, right? And so, if you are new here, Hustle and Harmony, we are just really passionate about helping women, grow into like the next versions of themselves, always continually growing, best version of themselves, and really just, feeling able to navigate the hustle culture that we all live in with confidence, right? To be able to find more joy, not be super stressed out all the time, and really show up in the way that you want to. And so the summer series is all, focused around the unique challenges that come with summertime as working moms. And so here we're going to look at it through the lens around you as the working mother, making sure that you are taking care of yourself as well, right? And so
Yeah.
it's all around summer wellness, keeping it simple, healthy habits that are easy to integrate into your life so that you can, maintain that or even kick off, that type of focus while in the midst of the summer chaos,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So we're hoping that you find some value in here. You might find some of it is um reminiscent of some of the other things that we've been talking about recently, which I think is fitting because sometimes you have to hear things multiple times before they set in or before you remember them. And there is really a lot of common threads with some of this stuff, right? That I think is important that we're trying to get across and hopefully, get through to the listeners and things like that. So super important to focus on yourself. So let's get right into it, right? So first, I think, one thing to kick off is around, the mindset around wellness
Hmm.
at any given point in time, but really in the summertime as well. And one thing that comes to mind, and again, this is going to feel familiar,
Because
is
we've
that
talked about this.
thought around flexibility versus perfection, right? I think last week you called it the Pinterest perfect summer or something like
Hmm.
that.
Yep.
It's similar, right? When it comes to your health or wellness, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, Alyssa, how have you embraced flexibility when it comes to this topic or like this area of your life?
Yeah. I feel like I kind of just have learned to go with the flow of what I feel like my kids are feeling or like
Mhm.
what the family is feeling. Like not putting so much pressure on myself to have it look a certain way or it has to be a certain way or we have to do this in this timing. It's really been important to me to like listen or even if my kids aren't saying it, like really get a feel for do we just need a day? Like, is everybody just tired? Like, if we go to the pool, is it going to be a good experience at the pool? Or am I going to feel completely overwhelmed because we went to the pool? Like, do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and also not just listening to what my kids want, but listening to myself. Like, what am I going to be able to tackle? What am I going to be able to handle? I know for me right now, like, it's baseball all-star season. It's Owens in Teener League playoffs. You know, there's lots of moving parts of activities that are going on also in the evening time. So I don't want to put all this extra stress and pressure on myself to be like I'm home during the day because I work from home, but I also need to fit in my work. Do you know what I mean? My
Yeah.
work is super flexible, which is great, but I still have to do it because it pays my bills. So it's finding that harmony, not balance, but that harmony of like feeling, taking how I feel and really adjusting our summer schedule around that.
Yeah. And for your own, wellness or fitness, health intentions or goals, I guess, right? Taking that same mindset. So I do think and one thing that I wasn't too surprised to learn about it, but the fact that, research does show that women who are more flexible or kind of have more of a flexible
Hmm.
mindset and are able to adapt,
Yeah.
yes, it experience less stress, right? And are more likely to maintain healthy habits.
Yeah.
Because when you are in that like frazzled mode, then it's very easy to grab something that's unhealthy or to skip the workout. Like I know that's always been my biggest challenge, right? Is when I feel overwhelmed, that's the first thing to go,
Yeah.
right? Is thinking of myself and what's important for like my own physical and mental
Yeah.
health and well-being. So even in terms of your own goals, like having flexibility, like, okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be a 1 hour workout every day, but just knowing like I have the intention to move at some point today, or I have, the intention to, you know, eat a certain way, right? So I think again, like having that flexibility and not being so rigid in your goals and expectations for yourself is
It's helpful.
a key, right? So
Yeah.
I think like you kind of setting the stage with that is super important. And again, this isn't new. This is going to sound familiar because it's very common. I think that's one of the big things around being able to experience harmony is taking the pressure off of yourself from that perfectionism. I'm guessing we probably have a lot of perfectionists that are drawn to this podcast or recovering perfectionists, right? So
Yeah.
I think you probably need to hear this a couple of times, how important it is to take that off of yourself, right? So first thing first, definitely keep that in mind, I think. And another simple thing that you can do just to kind of set the stage for your mindset and how you're approaching your health and wellness this summer is maybe just like small successes because it is really hard in the summertime to have rigid schedules because there's just a lot of moving parts. It's the summertime, right? There's just
Mhm.
a lot of things popping up. And so when you can maybe meet a goal or even, do something that you kind of was challenging yourself with, celebrating those, even the small things can
Yeah.
help keep you motivated, right?
Yeah, I
Agree?
agree too. And I think, like, just as an example, I just said to myself the other day, I'm going to start trying to eat foods that are in this like anti-inflammatory diet thing because I've had some
Hmm.
stomach issues going on. And then I bought stuff, but then yesterday, like it was busy and I was walking out the door and Dan had made leftover, like there was leftover stromboli or something for lunch. And I had no salad at the house. Like I didn't realize I was out of these things. And I was like, at first I was like, oh my gosh, but I'm hungry. Should I just eat a bite of it? And then I was like, yes, like I worked out this morning. Like it's also giving
Yeah.
yourself grace, like not
Yes.
putting so much pressure on myself. And then at night we had taco bowls, which I had all those ingredients ready to go. And it was
Mhm.
like, okay, even if maybe this little tiny piece of stromboli that I'm going to eat as part of my lunch isn't the most healthiest option, it's what's here right now and I have to get to the next thing. And I did move my like, do you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
giving yourself that grace and
Yeah, being able to
also
adapt to what's happening and then make
yeah.
adjustments later on, right? To
Yep.
kind of account
And
for that.
not
So we
guilting
had
yourself.
we had taco night last night too.
Did you?
Yes.
And it wasn't Tuesday either. It was
I no, it wasn't.
Wednesday.
We were a day
Oh.
late. No.
That's
We're
funny. That's
off
funny.
schedule, right? We didn't make it Tuesday, but it's okay. We still got our weekly taco night in.
Yes. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
funny.
super. I love that you mentioned that as well. So, okay, so good mindset, come in, be flexible with yourself, give yourself grace, just maybe set some intentions that you can use as guidelines going throughout the day, versus these rigid rules, you
Yep.
know. So I think that's what's really helped me over the last like month and a half since I've started my own revamped health journey is not being really rigid with things. And just again, like
Yeah.
have
Rigidity.
the idea in mind for me to use as like guardrails for my
Yes.
decisions, but it's like I'm not tracking my calories. I'm not, like using the points and this and that. Like
No.
that's too much. And ultimately, I always throw it to the wayside
Yep.
after a certain amount of time. I need to just live my life. I need to indulge when am feeling pulled to,
Mhm.
but like also just um kind of feel empowered to make better decisions. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's been so freeing over the last
Yeah.
little bit doing that. It's felt really, really good.
When you have, especially, and we're kind of going to get into like nutrition, this might be a good segue into that. Um, I, so I'll be completely honest. When I was in college, I had an eating disorder and I wasn't anorexic and I wasn't bulimic because Lord knows I don't like to throw up. But I would starve myself, but like not to the point of like being anorexic. So my eating disorder was classified as eating disorder, not otherwise specified because I wasn't like
A
more on one,
particular,
yeah,
right. Okay.
particular
Oh,
trainer to
wow.
other, but I was a hot mess. And I'll never forget the one day I was in my mom's office and I was restricting, was what I was doing. I was very rigidly restricting what I would allow myself to eat to the point where like I was eating applesauce for dinner. And
Oh,
like
geez.
I think my
Mhm.
parents knew that there was definitely something wrong, but I think it's also one of those things like who's gonna call out the elephant in the room? And I was in my mom's office the one day between classes when I was at Penn State because she worked there, and I passed out because I
Oh,
hadn't
wow.
eaten for like a while. And it was so scary. And the ambulance had to come and they took me to the hospital. And it was right at the change of classes, which was extremely embarrassing. And it was in that moment that I was like, I have a problem and I need to get this under control. And so I started going to, there's a really great eating disorder for clinic for adolescents in the Hershey area. That's with the Hershey Hospital. And I started going to their outpatient program. And it was so eye-opening to me because you get like a therapist and a doctor and then a nutritionist. And my nutritionist said, people who with their nutrition are so rigid with themselves set themselves up for failure
Right.
because they
Yeah.
don't like ease themselves into or educate themselves on why am I making such rigid decisions. So one of the big things that she told me that has stuck with me forever is anything in moderation. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not like you can't binge over here one day. Like that's what will happen to people. They'll be so rigid and then they'll give themselves a cheat day on a Sunday or like on a weekend day and then they go all out and it completely
Yeah.
cancels out everything that they've done previous to that. So it's like I think the other thing that's important too when it comes to your nutrition in summer, and yesterday for lunch was a key point of this, is I wasn't prepared. So
Yeah.
it's the preparation. Like when you're prepared and you have what you need to kind of keep yourself in check with those things, it's a lot easier. So that would be my big thing around nutrition. Like if you're working for like a summer nutrition goal or you have this healthy eating thing, it's anything in moderation, like it is okay. You're not going to eat ice cream every single day because it's summertime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's okay to have ice cream in the
But it's
summertime. Or
right.
like
Like
when you're out and you want
yeah.
some like,
We
yeah.
didn't have the kids last night, and Dan was like, "You want to go for an ice cream?" I was like, "Absolutely." Now I'm
Yeah.
also lactose intolerant, so I can't eat a whole lot of ice cream, but it was like, "Oh, I do kind of just want to sit and have an ice cream with you." And that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's again giving yourself that grace, but planning and preparing for what you want to see is really important, and understanding that nutrition is really what's fueling your body. And that's what I learned through that nutritionist is like, what does my body need to be fueled? Like, what am I giving it so that I have energy? Because if you're a
Hmm.
mom who's your nutrition's like really not in check and you feel horrible, it's because what you're feeding your body isn't fueling you to
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because when I am eating better, I feel better. Like,
Mhm.
it's no surprise, right? I mean, there's obviously a relationship there, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I love that for sure. And it's been so freeing, like I said, to me to just think about more like choices and like
Mhm.
guidelines versus rigid programs
Yeah.
and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So much simpler.
So
Um,
meal prep is so good in summertime
yeah.
because
Yeah.
of
So
just that. It helps.
let's move to meal prep a little bit or just like
Nutrition in
planning in
general.
advance, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's all around that. So one thing that, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago with my kids even, right? During the summertime and like I have some out there right on the counter for them right now is like, okay, here are some snacks for the day,
Hmm.
right? So it's like as they get hungry, it's like, here you go. I'll have you know, the fruit out and washed and even in their own separate bowls, so I don't have to hear she ate all the grapes or blah blah
I
blah.
know.
It's like all the things
Constant
out.
struggle in our
It's
house.
doing that for yourself too, like having really easy go-to snacks I found that you can grab at any point in time. Like for me, like I like hard-boiled eggs. Like now, like making them in advance, just have like if I'm hungry and like I just want something, it's like just grab it.
Hmm.
Even better if you can pre-peel them, right?
Hmm.
Like you make them and pre-peel them
Yep.
before the week, right? Because Lord knows peeling a hard-boiled egg is an effort
It is,
sometimes,
I'm
right?
sure.
It's like, oh my goodness. So I think that, obviously finding the snacks that work for you, but I found a couple that are easy and really like they fill me up quickly. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like when I'm just
High
feeling like a little
protein is really
peckish.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've shifted over the last month and a half since I've started this is really just centering all of my choices around protein.
Hmm.
And just kind of looking at everything through that lens at least,
Yep.
and then that's where I say again, it's like, okay, let me just think about I'm hungry right now, or I'm even going out to eat or whatever, right? Like what am I
Yeah.
gonna choose,
Yeah.
right? And just kind of focusing on it that way. Yeah, what are some of your like go-to like prep tips
Mm.
or things like that?
So I love salads. I'm a huge salad person. And if anybody has any suggestions for like good, non-fatty, slimy, like almost ready-made grilled chicken that I could throw in a salad, that'd be awesome because I hate having to like cook my own chicken breast and throw it in. Sometimes I'll get rotisserie chicken and use
Yeah.
that because it's just easier. But so I will make and prep some salads for like a couple days for myself for lunch. I also try to do high protein a lot. So I love doing like protein shakes. If you get, I use
Mm.
all these protein because I
Do
don't know.
you? And it
Yeah.
tastes good? I was wondering
Hmm.
about that because
I'm really
I'm
picky.
Aldi's number one fan,
Yes, I'm a
usually.
very picky protein powder person and I really like their protein powder. So I'll get frozen strawberries,
Mm,
almond milk, and then I have my protein powder, but also the fruit, like you said, like if here's what I'm classic for doing. This is a confession. I'll buy strawberries and then when I get home with them, I'm too lazy to rinse and cut them then, and then I'll put them in the fridge and then by the next day they're crap. Like you can't eat
uh,
them. Like they just go so it's like getting in the habit of, all right, I bought this fruit. I'm gonna wash it, I'm gonna put it in the container so that the kids
yeah.
have it, I have it. I do like good different protein bars. Some of them could be sneaky on the calorie side, but if you could find one that's, not like that, I love these new ones that I found at Walmart. It's like Monk Pack or something. But
Okay.
also, I love beef sticks are great. So
Yeah.
it's like a great grab and go thing.
Yeah. I like doing just sliced pepperoni from the deli even.
Mm-hmm.
Like just grab a
Yep.
few slices of that. Similar concept, right? Like instead
Yeah.
of a beef stick, a couple slices of pepperoni
Yep.
are really simple and easy too, like cheese sticks.
Yep. I like to
Um,
do ground turkey at the beginning of the
oh,
week, like just make ground turkey and then I can use it for a variety of things. I could put it on a salad. I could
gotcha.
make a taco bowl. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
could just use it as I need for
Yeah.
protein. But
I
I
will
think,
say too, like I know you said you don't like making your own chicken, but like last night, so we were having taco bowls. So I cooked some of the chicken, obviously, like in the taco seasoning, and then I had a little bit extra that I just cooked just with like salt and pepper plain so that I could
yep,
have for salads then,
yep,
for like today or tomorrow, So any chance that you can
yeah,
maybe do a little bit of prep or think ahead,
yeah,
like because I hate when I have like an extra chicken breast or something just
yeah,
sitting in the fridge. It's like,
uh-huh,
okay, just cook it up and figure out how you
yep,
can
yeah.
use it later in the week.
And I love
Yeah.
the pre-made salads, like from Aldi and stuff. Like I'll get their Southwest one. I love that one. Like the
Mm,
dressing, everything is right in the bag. So
hmm.
sometimes, like if we're gonna go to the pool and I want to make sure that I have something healthy that I can grab to eat, I always usually have at least one or two of those in the fridge that I can grab that, take a bowl and a fork, and there's,
There you go.
like a
Yeah.
healthier option. So I think it's just finding things that you like that work for you and just making them very like readily
Quick and
available,
easy,
quick and
absolutely,
easy.
like at any given moment. Yeah, I also like to do pre-made like dinner kits too,
Mm,
which like so it's kind of like HelloFresh, but they're from the grocery store. Like the one that we like to get is from this particular grocery store down here. I do have to like get a couple of things from a few different stores for the week, I will say, which I know is not for everyone, but I
yeah,
make it work. Where everything like all the ingredients are in there and you just have to pretty much open and like cook
that's
it,
it. Mhm.
which is so much easier and I
Yeah,
love those.
yeah,
And I don't have to plan ahead like 2 weeks in advance and have them shipped and then they sit and I'm like, I don't want that anymore. You know what I mean? I can buy them more on demand.
yeah,
So those are really nice and easy too. So yeah,
yeah.
I think prep and planning, we've mentioned this in general as well before, right? In terms of how to bring more harmony into your life, even with your schedule and stuff like that. So the same goes for this, right?
Mhm.
For eating. It makes such a difference. Absolutely. Now, what about for water intake and stuff like that? Because, even outside of summer, hydration is so important. It's drink your
Yeah,
8 glasses a day, et cetera, et
yeah,
cetera. Now, I drink a lot of water already, but I will
Mhm.
say for me, and I don't know if anyone will resonate with this, but I basically only drink sparkling water. Like that's what I love.
So I used to say I didn't like sparkling water. I used to be like, I don't like it because I didn't like fizziness. I must have tried it at some point, and I
Right,
do
yeah.
think it's an acquired taste. I will say some sparkling waters, like I saw you drink one.
Yeah.
Uh, Yep,
This
it's
one isn't
like
that good. It's a new flavor, but anyway.
it's an acquired taste, I feel like, but now that's how I get my water in.
Yeah.
I love Better Goods brand. So like I do try to get not the cheapest option, but I'm budget conscious when I go to the grocery store. So the Better Goods ones were pretty like cheap at
Reasonable.
Walmart. But I'll get them from Costco or Sam's Club in like a
Mm.
bigger thing. But I love the lime and the lemon ones. So
Yeah. And
those are
honestly,
my go.
I've had it for years now, a soda stream, but you just sparkle your water.
Yeah.
And so I don't even, the only reason I actually bought some flavored ones last week because I was out of CO2 and like I hadn't yet got to the store to do my exchange. So I'm like, okay, I need something. Like, so like I
That's
bought
so
some, but so a
cool.
lot of times I'll actually drink it plain even. Now I've been drinking it for years at this point. So again, it's probably an acquired taste,
Right.
it's not for everyone. But if you're struggling with flat water because you feel like
Yes.
it's boring, because I
That's
don't like
me.
the squeezy things in the water. I know some people love to
Nope.
add a little flavor to it. I don't like that personally.
Right.
But the bubbles, I love the carbonation. So that's how I get mine in for sure.
I've grown to love them. And then sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so thirsty for a sparkling water.
Yeah.
So
There's
weird.
there's this one flavor I have not seen in so long and it makes me so sad. I think it was Bubbly brand. It was peach ginger. It was so good and I never see it anywhere. So if you ever see it out in the wild
Peach
somewhere,
ginger,
you
let
have to let me
Ashley
know.
know.
Um
That's so
and
funny.
but yeah, so I love trying different flavors too. Lime is pretty much usually good no matter what brand. Like if you're
Yeah.
not really sure, because some of them, again, for me, I don't love a lot of the flavors,
Yeah.
but there are some that I really, really enjoy. The beach plum one from LaCroix is really good.
I can't
Lime's
like that one.
usually, I feel like a go-to, like one that you can't go wrong with
Yeah,
typically.
exactly.
So yeah, play around
Especially if
with
you're
that.
like
They're
a
fun, and I feel like it, especially in the summer, like a flavored sparkling drink, it just feels fun,
fun. Hmm.
right? Like
Yes,
summertime.
absolutely. Yeah.
So.
And I
Okay.
have to be honest, guys, like I'm not out here setting alarms, drinking my
Me either.
water.
I was gonna
Nope.
ask you,
Not
you know,
happening here.
at one point I bought one of those big jugs that had like
I
8
told
a.m.,
you, like,
10
you're
a.m.
almost there. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
you're
mom got
almost
me one of
there.
those. I was like,
Um,
Mom, this is great, but
it just it wasn't for me,
it's
you
not
know.
conducive to my harmony. So it's one of
Yeah,
those
it
things.
stresses me out, right? If I'm
Exactly.
not at that time, at the time that it says I'm supposed to
Um,
be.
can we also just talk about the fact that now, the age that I am and the fact that I have birthed four children, my bladder is just not what it used to be. And so, like, I know I'm supposed to drink a lot of water, and I do start my day with water. So that was a change that I made. Like, with
Okay.
whatever I eat for breakfast, I drink water, and I always work out in the morning. So I'm always drinking water first thing in the morning. So my goal
Hmm.
is to have a bottle of regular water in the morning so that I get my first, whatever,
Initial set
initial
in.
16
Hmm.
ounces or whatever in. And then the rest of the day, I'm just trying to be conscious of when I'm thirsty, grabbing a sparkling water. Or, I don't really drink other things other than like unsweetened iced tea, but
Mm.
I
I
try to
drink
be
coffee. It's
conscious.
coffee
And coffee.
and water
But I
for
drink
me for sure,
decaf
but.
coffee. So it's like,
Do you? I probably could. Honestly, I don't think it's more the mental. I love to have coffee like in the morning.
yeah, I just
Actually,
like the
now one switch
coffee.
I made is I'll use now they're pre-made protein shakes actually from Aldi. Like you can get a 4 pack. I use that as my coffee creamer now
Oh,
to get a little bit extra like protein and they have
yeah.
like vanilla flavor, give it a little
Hmm.
something. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know, but I know the flavoring does work for some people. Like my mom loves flavoring her water.
Yes.
If you're, struggling to get in, maybe because you feel like it's bland, try some of that. Try some sparkling water.
Yep.
Maybe the big old jugs that tell you
Yes.
when to drink will work for you.
If
It just
that's for
it's just not
you,
for us. Yeah.
fabulous. It's just not.
Yes.
It's just,
Clearly some people love it, right? So
yeah.
clearly it does
Yeah.
work for some folks.
Yep.
Okay. So I think just to kind of sum that up, right? Like clearly hydration is really important.
Yeah.
Find what works for you. Try not to. I think soda is just like not a good option. We know that doesn't actually hydrate you. Try
Hydrate.
to choose water as much as possible.
Yes.
Spruce it up a little bit if you need to. Meal prep, batch cook, easy snacks, just plan ahead. Similar to, I think I mentioned this on an earlier episode where, I'll plan a menu for the week, right? Like, okay, here's what I know that I'm making for dinner. You can do that for lunch and for breakfast too, or for
Yep.
snacks,
Yep.
just so you have even like a reference little, like, oh, wait, I'm hungry. Like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Like, I prepped
Yep.
some eggs, or like, I have some of
Mhm.
that, right? Like, I forgot that I thought of that in advance, right? After a couple of days.
That's
So I
funny.
think any of those things work.
Yeah.
So now I think let's move into physical
Movement.
movement. Yeah,
Yes.
activity.
So
Um,
important.
Okay, so what I know you've always been, at least since I've known you, I think,
Yeah.
active or like doing your morning walks and things like that.
Mhm.
And I think you run now, right? So what's worked for you? Like, how did you get into that and how have you maintained it for so long?
Yeah, so I know it's crazy. I kind of got away from it for a short time, um, like right after I had babies or whatever, and then I'd always get back into it. But my love of walking actually came in like eighth grade. I remember that I had gotten sports induced asthma like seventh, eighth grade.
Mm.
And it got to the point where like they had to put me on a steroid, and I had gained weight from this steroid. And I just was like, really, it was hard. Like I was getting ready to transition into high school. I knew that my weight was up. And so my doctor had told me to start walking. And so I would just set a goal for myself in eighth grade to walk around there, like where I lived, there was like 3 blocks. And I'd just walk around and I'd do that 3 blocks like 5 times. And then
Mm.
I was good. And I literally like dropped so much of the weight at that
Oh,
time.
wow.
And I loved just like walking and thinking and listening to music. So that's where my love of walking came from. But I will tell you guys, there are so many benefits to moving your body. One is the endorphins that it boosts. Like it's so good for your mental state. And if you're tired, so like this is what I do with myself. If I feel like, oh my gosh, I wish I could take a nap, which I don't even know the last time I took a nap. And if you're a nap taker, please don't feel like I'm attacking you. I'm not. But I've learned that instead of taking a nap, I will go for a quick, like 10-minute walk and I will feel more awake
It gives
just
you the same
because
little boost.
yeah, it's the hormones that get moving, like when you're in movement. But how I got back into it after having Emmy was I was not in a happy place. Like I was just kind of miserable. I just was like, I think I need time to myself. And I started waking up before Dan had to go to work and before the kids had to do what they had to do. That's the stage of life I was in at that time. And I would get out the door and I would go. And I just talked about this in a podcast I was a guest on. I started finding myself again, like working on me. Like I'd listen to podcasts or I'd listen to a book on Audible. Like it was
Hmm.
just my time to work on myself. And it started to just become a non-negotiable time because when I wouldn't do it, I would feel different. And I didn't like how I felt when I didn't do it. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of how I got started in it. And that's still what I do now. Like I wake up before everybody else in my house and we kind of have this in our notes, but movement does not have to mean the gym. I have not
Yes.
stepped in a gym maybe a handful of times in the last 5 years. I love to be outside, so I run and I walk outside, and then I go on YouTube or Instagram and like let's say one day I want to do a leg workout. I'll just search leg workout and I'll find one of the fitness influencers and I'll pick something that's only going to take me
Fantastic.
20 minutes because that's all the time I have right now. And
Yeah.
20 minutes is better than 0 minutes, you know? So my goals personally, that I've learned from doing a lot of research is definitely making sure I hit 10,000 steps. So like
Okay.
right now I'm at 8,200 because I walked this morning, but hitting my 10,000 steps for sure. And then lifting weights like 3 times a week at least is really important in this age range as you're getting into
Yeah,
like perimenopause and stuff. So,
I know. I
but
hear the strength training.
and if you're like having a hard time getting out of the house or you're in a season where, you know, I've had seasons where I was the one with my kids all the time because my husband had a really long work day. It was taking them out on their bikes, like taking them to the walking path.
Hmm.
Going to the playground. Like there's so many family friendly activities that you can do with your kids. What do you do? Like what's your
Yeah.
go-to?
Yeah, for sure. So we do a lot of walking too, just in our neighborhood, right? And the kids like to go out for walks too, and not all the time, but Nick and I will go out for walks like in the evening time once he's home from work, and that's something that like, okay, we can use that time to talk and catch up and kind of vent about the day or whatever, or even with the girls too, kind of hearing what they're sharing about their days and stuff like that. That's really simple. I mean, if we're thinking of the summertime, the pool is another great option, right? So if it's warm weather, getting out there. So something that I just recently started a couple weeks ago is I joined, I guess you would call it a yoga studio. So I've been doing like hot yoga and then
Sounds like fun.
like a mixture of yoga and strength training, like with hand
Yep.
weights and stuff like that. And so not a gym, but for me, like group fitness is just something that I can get behind. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And I enjoy
Love
so
group
much
fitness.
more. And for me, like I did some stuff at home before where I would do like virtual classes and stuff, but if I get tired in the middle of it, I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm just here
Harder
by
to be
myself. It's
accountable to
it's
yourself.
exactly. It's so much harder for me and my personality or whatever to hold
Hmm.
myself accountable. So like showing up there is probably obviously that's on me, right? I have to get up and go. But once I'm there, like I love it, even though sometimes, like yesterday, I told her, I'm like, I wanted to walk out like halfway through, like I was like really feeling it, but I felt so good afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Like after completing it and stuff like that. So I do think you have to find what works
Works for
for
you.
you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, we have a clubhouse here in our community, so they have a little gym there, like a couple machines and stuff like that. Like Nick likes to do the elliptical. I would go and just walk on the treadmill and they
Hmm.
have a bike and stuff like that. Like he doesn't like the treadmill, right? I'm not a huge elliptical person. So like you have to really find what
Everybody's
works for
different.
you. But the hardest thing is, getting up and going. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So, you know, that's always again been my challenge is like
Yeah.
sticking with things long term and
Yep.
finding things that like I want to do long term. So,
Hmm.
I'm a couple weeks into this new exploration, I'll say, with these, classes and like different
Right.
things that I'm enjoying. So, and I'm liking it a lot. So, I'm hoping that it's for the longer haul, right?
Yeah, I think
And
once you find something you like, it's so much easier to make it a part of your
yes.
routine. And if it's not something you've been doing for a while, you really just have to get to that place of starting small. Like, okay, if you haven't been doing anything in terms of physical activity, it would be unrealistic to say every single day I'm going to do this. But it's like, all right,
Right.
3 days this week, I'm going to go take a walk if that's something that you think you'd be able to do. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
finding those things that are like manageable out of the gate that's going to help you stay consistent.
Yeah. And the other common thing here is planning, right? So looking at your
Yep.
schedule for the week and being like, okay, when can I realistically make it on a walk or make it to
Mhm.
a class or whatever it is that you're trying to do?
Yep.
Plan it out in advance. If you have to, like last week, it was like, okay, Nick, I'm gonna need you to like get Lily from thing and like get her to tumbling because I wanted to go to this other class, right? And like planning that
Yep.
in advance so that you can make it work. And then I think the other big thing is just choosing yourself as much as possible because again,
Yep.
like we've talked about before, myself or these things are always the first to go when I'm feeling overwhelmed or I have a lot going on. It's so much easier to be like, oh my gosh, well, I'll just skip that and so I can get this other thing done and
Hmm.
just being like, no, you know,
Yep.
don't do it. Right. So
Staying
just
committed to
trying
it.
to, encourage yourself, I think, along the way that like, look, everything that you have to do is going to be there whether or not you go do something for
Yep.
yourself, right? So, encouraging yourself that way. And again, like giving yourself grace. Like if you can't make it or it doesn't happen today and you wanted to, that's okay. Like you can try again
Mhm.
tomorrow.
Yep.
It doesn't have to totally derail you. The rigidity is not your friend when it comes to any of this stuff. So just being flexible and adaptable and like figuring out when you can fit stuff in, you know,
Yeah,
based on the time that you have. So, yeah.
absolutely.
I think I love all that, right? It doesn't have to mean in the gym. Walking is so easy, simple. I think I've heard it's better for you than running. It's a
Yeah,
great
lowers your
way for you.
cortisol
I
levels.
do also like a lot of times I actually like going out with nothing. Like even, after I would drop the kids off at the bus, it would only be like 15 minutes, but I would just then do like a walk around the neighborhood before I would log on to work. And
Hmm.
I would just like to listen to the birds and stuff. That sounds a little
Yeah,
goofy, but not
I
a lot
agree.
of times I would like to listen to a podcast or music, but sometimes it's just nice to be out there. You kind of hear what's going on, the lawnmowers or whatever,
Yep.
that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think anything can work, but find what works for you. Doesn't have to be an hour every day. Um, but
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about the next one.
Yes.
It's rest, relaxation, your mental wellness. So, what for you, how do you make sure that you're getting this in summer?
Um, so I don't know. I'm trying to think. I mean, like, I feel like it's the same as other areas of the year where the quiet time is really key.
Hmm.
Now, morning quiet time, might shift a little bit as I've started trying to actually be more active in the morning,
Yeah.
right? So finding other times that I can have that quiet time, I think is just really important. So for me, that is an all year kind of thing, is
Hmm.
just making sure I even have 15 minutes to kind of decompress
Yep.
before taking on the day,
Yep.
right? The sleep thing, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any particular tips on this, right? I mean, I feel like you go to bed when you're tired. I don't stay up late. When I hit the bed, like I'm tired and I fall asleep. So I've never really struggled with that
Yeah.
personally. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Do you have any good ones?
I mean, I don't when it comes to sleep. I'm the person who's trying to fit as many things in a day as she can, and I have to have like some just mindless time right before I go to bed, or my mind and body cannot settle. Like,
Mm,
I am so jealous of people like my husband who lay down on a pillow and they are out. And I'm like still laying there, like, oh my gosh, why am I still awake? But that's just how I am.
yeah.
I've always kind of been that way. But I do think knowing how much sleep is non-negotiable for you, like what do I need sleep-wise to operate? Because yes, they say get 8 hours of sleep, but everybody's kind of different. And
Yeah. I don't feel like I need 8 hours
yeah, like
personally.
I feel like I'm good on 7. I feel like I'm pretty good. So I don't always feel like I need 8. But then there are times where I'm more tired that maybe I'm like, all right, I think I need to make sure I get 8 hours of sleep tonight.
Hmm.
But for me, I think it's like just little micro moments of time where I can rest. So, like, if I know that we're going to be getting ready to leave to go somewhere, especially in summer, maybe I will just take 10 minutes before I have to get everybody going and just sit out on the porch and just like decompress before it's about to
Yeah,
get
that's a good
crazy
point.
and we're off, to the nightly stuff. So, for some people, I know in the summer they like to, I haven't gotten to do this in recent years because of having little kids. I'm finally getting to a place where I'm starting to get out of that stage, but I used to love to read. So like just
Mm.
taking a break to read a chapter or two of a book that I love, at some point in the day, you have to kind of know for you what rest, like what is rest to you. Some
Yeah.
people like to take a nap. I'm not a napper personally, but that is something that works for some people. So it's what works for you and just doing that and making sure like being conscious of am I giving myself time to rest because you do
Yeah.
not want to burn out over the
Yeah,
summer.
I will say, one thought around, the falling asleep part that I've found has helped me is turning off the TV. Right. So
Yes.
like if we're, because we will end the night with like, oh, let's watch something, kind of relax or whatever, decompress at night. Well, if it's on, then I'm more likely to like want to keep watching, even if
Right.
I'm tired. But lately it's like, okay, I'm feeling tired, like we turn it off and then I actually allow myself to fall asleep.
Yep.
Because there's one thing I will say I do struggle with. It's like I want to sleep, but I don't because I do kind of feel like I should be doing something, but
Yeah.
once I like actually give myself quiet darkness and I lay down,
Yeah.
I can
It's
go
all
out,
good.
so maybe
Yeah.
try that if you're struggling a little bit too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's all good stuff, right?
Yep.
Little moments, find what rest means for you or relaxation. It could mean also like listening to a podcast while you're cooking or while you're
Hmm.
prepping food, right? Like at least maybe it's still like a little
Yeah. Just a
mindless work for
relaxing
yourself, like a
activity.
mental break while you're
Yeah.
actually still being active or something. So
Yep.
but it is super important. You shouldn't overschedule yourself, right? Like allow time in there for you to just like sit
Yeah.
and chill,
Yeah.
right? As much as possible.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that for me, scrolling actually makes me feel worse. So I
Mm.
suggest trying to not scroll when you're feeling like you need rest
Yeah,
because I
absolutely.
actually feel like if I do that and then once I stop scrolling, I feel weird. Like I can't explain how I feel, but I don't feel like, oh, I'm feeling
You feel a little like wired, kind of.
yes, I do.
Your
It's
mind's on.
weird feeling. So definitely don't love that. But yeah, so those are some great things. So
Yeah.
some key takeaways
Yes.
from today: flexibility, flexible mindset,
Yep.
right? Simple. So we always use that KISS. Keep it simple, sweetie. Like
Yep.
keep it simple when it comes to your nutrition, your daily movement, and then your intentional rest, because when you're too rigid, that's when it's hard to stick with it.
And
Um,
then you feel guilty, and then it leads
yes,
to bad cycles.
bad feelings
So,
about
yeah,
yourself, and we don't want to go down that road, right? So,
definitely not.
so we encourage you guys to pick one new habit to try this week in any of those arenas and share your progress or tips with us in the comments of our podcast, wherever you're listening to this. And
Hmm.
we have some more really great summer content coming up. We have some special guests that are going to be coming up. So get excited about that. Anything else you want to tell them, Ash, before we?
No, well, I mean, I think the only thing I'll end with or remind everyone is make sure you like and subscribe and you share and you review and you do all the things to help get us out to more and more people because we're just trying to help people out and get in front of as many
As we
women as possible. So
yeah,
any support you could give us that way would be much appreciated.
we would love that. All right, guys, we'll make it a great week. We'll see you next
Yes.
time.
See you soon. Bye.